Imagine this. You're sipping coffee on a quiet mountain morning when suddenly, 3 trucks storm your driveway. Out jump men with fake badges, led by the queen of clipboards herself, Karen. She claims your cabin is illegal and threatens to drag you out. But what she doesn't know is that backup is on the way. And when the roar of Harleys rolled over the ridge, everything changed in an instant. Saturday mornings at my mountain cabin are normally the definition of peace. I had woken up early, brewed a strong cup of coffee, and was sitting on the porch listening to the forest come alive. The air was crisp, the sound of birds echoed through the trees, and the little creek behind the cabin gurgled like it was humming a tune just for me. Out here, far away from the noise of the city, every moment feels like medicine for the soul. But peace doesn't last long when Karen is around. Just as I leaned back in my chair, savoring the quiet, I heard the crunch of tires on gravel. My first thought was maybe a neighbor was stopping by. But this wasn't one car. This was 3 big pickup trucks, moving in tight formation, like they thought they were some kind of tactical squad. They pulled right into my driveway and parked in a way that completely boxed me in. Doors slammed. Heavy boots hit the ground. And that's when I saw them, men wearing sunglasses, dark jeans, and button-down shirts with shiny little badges clipped to their belts. But these weren't cops. They weren't sheriff's deputies. They were Karen's so-called HOA Security. And sure enough, the queen herself stepped out of the lead truck. Clipboard in hand, hair sprayed into a helmet, eyes burning with that same smugness I'd seen 100 times before. Karen didn't waste a second. She marched right up to the steps of my porch and jabbed her finger toward me. "This cabin is an illegal structure," she snapped, as if she were delivering a court ruling. "You are in violation of HOA regulations, and my security team will be removing you from this property immediately." I almost spit my coffee out laughing. My cabin sits on private land, outside HOA borders. She has no claim here. But Karen, in her world of clipboards and power trips, believed that if she said something loud enough, it became the law. At that moment, I knew this Saturday wasn't going to be peaceful. It was about to be the start of one of the wildest HOA showdowns anyone on this mountain had ever seen. If I hadn't been so irritated, I might have found the whole thing hilarious. Karen's security team looked like something out of a bad TV drama. Their badges were cheap knockoffs, the kind you'd find on Amazon or in a kid's costume set. One of the guys even had his badge clipped upside down. The tallest one had an earpiece that wasn't connected to anything, just dangling loose like a prop. Karen puffed out her chest and started giving orders, barking like a drill sergeant who had watched too many police movies. "Secure the perimeter," she yelled. 2 of the men started walking around my porch, pretending to survey the area, while another pulled out a pad of paper and scribbled down nonsense, as if he were documenting evidence. "Do you even have the authority to be here?" I asked, standing up from my chair. One of them, trying to look tough, stepped forward. "We're HOA Security. That's all the authority we need." I couldn't help but smirk. "Buddy, the mailman has more authority than you do." But Karen wasn't laughing. She whipped out a folder from her clipboard and waved it in my face. "You are in violation of Section 14, Subsection C, Unauthorized Dwelling Construction. You are hereby ordered to vacate this property immediately or face removal." "Removal? By who, these guys?" I asked, nodding toward her security squad. Her face went red. "Don't test me. They're trained." "Trained in what?" I wondered. "Buying sunglasses in bulk?" The so-called officers began circling closer, and one of them tried to look intimidating by cracking his knuckles. My patience was wearing thin, but I held my ground. Karen had always loved intimidation tactics, loud voices, stacks of fake paperwork, and now this ridiculous play acting with fake cops. But what she didn't realize was that the more she pushed, the more the neighbors noticed. Phones were coming out. Cameras were pointing. And this little power trip was about to backfire on her in ways she never imagined. It didn't take long for the neighborhood grapevine to kick in. From across the ridge, people saw the trucks blocking my driveway and heard Karen's voice carrying through the trees. Within minutes, neighbors started trickling over, some standing on the road, others leaning on their fences, watching the scene unfold like it was Saturday morning entertainment. Phones came out fast. Cameras clicked on. People were filming from every angle. And Karen loved it. Every time she noticed a lens pointed her way, her voice got louder, more dramatic. She wanted an audience. She wanted the performance recorded so she could play Hero HOA President later at her meetings. "Hand over proof of ownership," she barked. "No," I replied calmly. "Then you'll be dragged out," she shouted, pointing at her security team. One of the men stepped forward, reaching for my arm. That was the breaking point. Neighbors gasped, voices rose, and the cameras zoomed in. I was just about to make it very clear that nobody was laying a hand on me when something incredible happened. It started faint, so low you could almost mistake it for thunder. A deep rumble, steady and growing louder with each second. My ears perked up instantly. I knew that sound. The roar of motorcycles. Harleys. At first, just a low vibration in the distance. Then the sound grew, rolling over the ridge like an approaching storm. Karen's head snapped toward the road, her eyes narrowing. The security guys froze mid-step, their tough act faltering as the sound grew louder and louder. And then, over the bend, they appeared. 6 Harleys in perfect formation, chrome gleaming under the morning sun. Behind the handlebars, my cousins. Army veterans, built like tanks, with faces that told stories of discipline, loyalty, and zero patience for nonsense. And if that wasn't enough, 2 of their biker brothers followed close behind, leather vests catching the light, engines thundering like a war drum. The entire mood shifted. Karen's confidence started to crack, her voice stuttering. The fake security guards. Their sunglasses didn't hide the sudden panic in their eyes. The cavalry had arrived. The ground practically shook as my cousins rolled into the driveway, engines rumbling in unison. The smell of exhaust mixed with the pine air, and it felt like the mountain itself was standing behind me. The first to step off his bike was Mike, my cousin, 6'4", built like a brick wall, tattoos stretching across his arms. He took off his helmet, slowly, deliberately, letting the silence build as the Harleys idled behind him. His eyes scanned the scene, the trucks, the fake badges, Karen's clipboard, and then landed on me. "You good?" he asked. "Better now," I said with a grin. Karen tried to recover her authority. "This is an HOA matter. You have no jurisdiction here," she yelled, her voice shaking just a little. Mike ignored her completely. He looked straight at the closest security officer, who suddenly didn't seem so tough. "You boys got about 10 seconds to clear out," he said in a calm, measured tone. "Because right now, you're trespassing." The man gulped, glancing at Karen for backup. She tried to nod firmly, but her hand was shaking. Another cousin stepped off his Harley, crossing his arms, muscles bulging under his leather vest. 9 seconds, he added. That was all it took. Panic spread like wildfire. One of the fake officers tried to argue, but his voice cracked, and when my cousin took a single step closer, the guy bolted for his truck. The others weren't far behind, tripping over each other to get inside their vehicles. Engines roared as the 3 trucks peeled down the driveway, gravel flying, leaving Karen standing alone, abandoned by her so-called army. With her security gone, Karen was left red-faced and furious. She waved her clipboard in the air like it was a sword. "You're all witnesses. This cabin is illegal. He will be fined," she shrieked, but her voice was drowned out by the laughter of neighbors and the steady rumble of the Harleys. The cameras were still rolling. Every word, every threat, every stumble was captured. And the more Karen shouted, the more foolish she looked. One cousin leaned over to me and whispered, "You want us to stick around?" I smirked. "Nah. She's already finished." And I was right. Within days, the videos went viral in our community. People who once felt bullied by Karen's clipboard and fake rules suddenly saw her for what she really was, a fraud with a loud mouth and no real power. The so-called security team never showed their faces again, and neighbors began demanding answers. The board she had controlled so tightly started to unravel. Members resigned. Homeowners banded together, filing complaints, calling meetings, and finally standing up to the woman who had terrorized them for years. Karen's empire of fear crumbled faster than anyone imagined. As for me, my cabin still stands, stronger than ever. The creek still hums, the forest still whispers, and my porch feels even more peaceful knowing Karen won't be darkening my driveway again. And every time I hear the distant rumble of a Harley, I can't help but smile. Because that sound reminds me of the day Intimidation lost, Family won, and the Queen of Clipboards was dethroned in front of her entire neighborhood. Sometimes the best way to fight HOA drama isn't in court or with paperwork. Sometimes all it takes is laughter, loyalty, and the roar of engines rolling in at just the right moment. And just like that, Karen's fake army scattered, her clipboard power crumbled, and the neighborhood finally saw her for what she was, a fraud. My cabin still stands, my peace is intact, and the sound of those Harleys that day still makes me smile. Because sometimes, family and a roar of engines are all it takes to silence an HOA bully. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more wild HOA stories.